Welcome to Be On the Desk. My name's Rachel Farrell. I'm a homeschool mom, a real estate agent, and somebody who loves to have lots and lots of adventures. On this podcast, we talk about those three things. Today, on today's episode, we are going to focus in on homeschool. We started our homeschool year back on July 1st. Last year, we stuck pretty close with the school calendar. This year, we're taking a little bit more of a year-round approach. We're homeschooling roughly 3 weeks on, 1 week off, but also sort of allowing for holidays and, vacation plans to kind of take place organically and then make sure that we get our stuff done around it. Kind of loved it this year. Part of the reason why we got into homeschooling is so that we had flexibility with the family. I have a little bit more of a non-traditional job. My husband works a little bit more of a non-traditional job, and so it just kind of makes sense for our family to be able to homeschool and enjoy the scheduling flexibility that it provides. This year, we have really zeroed in on what we like as far as curriculum goes. So last year, we had done some of the different things that were suggested to me just based off of pulling our kid out last minute and then grabbing a couple of resources and then moving through the second grade school year the best that we could. Third grade, I really felt like I had a grasp on the different curriculum types and how to utilize it in our homeschool. It's like sometimes I guess it's like any sort of hobby or craft or anything that you're trying to get better at. You start off with it and you're kind of confused, and it takes a couple of failures to figure out, okay, well, this is how it typically works and this is how I can utilize it inside of my space. That was how we functioned. So last year we started off with one particular kind of math curriculum, and we worked our way through two, didn't like any of them. This year we landed on Horizons Math. Hold on, I'll show you. This is the Horizons third grade math teacher book, and what I love about it is that it is so clear. It tells you what concepts that they should be able to understand, objectives the student shall be able to count out loud by 3s to 36. Oh, that's so funny. We're still wrapping up in the second grade book. We're going to end up in this one really soon, but he can do that because we've been doing it in the second grade book. The student shall be able to circle the coins necessary to equal $1, etc. There's teaching tips, materials, supplies, and equipment, and then all of the different activities that go along with some of the workbook pages that they have in the back, which I will copy because I plan on using this for my youngest. And then the kids workbook here. I love this because it's a one-pager. I literally just pull it out and I put it inside of his binder so that it looks far less overwhelming. It's nice and colorful, which is great, but it's also simple enough that he can focus in on it and get it done. Math is definitely our hardest subject. I have him in an online program, IXL, so that we can check and see where he is as far as is he on grade level? Does he need a little bit more work in certain areas? It's just a testing program that I'm using to try and understand where he's at. And really utilizing it is what made us ultimately determine that we needed to A, change math curriculum, B, go back a little bit and review second grade. I follow this great girl on TikTok and I cannot remember her name, and I'm recording this on my phone so I can't. I'll pull it out and I'll let you know in the comments below. But she was a first grade teacher and she has fantastic resources for homeschool parents. She homeschools her kids now. For homeschool parents to teach your kids some of these different concepts in a really fun way. I know that I'm not great at mental math. Adding and subtracting I'm good at. Multiplication, division, just in my head, it does not come naturally to me. And I always thought that was just because I wasn't good at math, when in hindsight, we sped through it so quickly and my attention span just was not there to be able to grasp it. What I love about homeschooling is that whenever I see that he's not really into it, we can change up the way it's being taught. We can give him some different tools to be able to learn it to the best of his ability. And if he's not catching it, then we're going to adjust until he does. Then we're going to move on. We're pacing really well through second grade math. And so I feel good that by the end of this half of the year, by December, we should be well on our way into the third grade workbooks. Very excited about that. So math was kind of the biggest one. I had originally bought Math U.S for my youngest, and it is a different kind of curriculum. So you've got spiral-based learning, and then you have mastery. And Math UC is a mastery program. So it's, what is the number one? Here's 1,000 different ways that you can talk about the number one. Once we've mastered the number one, we move on to the number two. It's a very rudimentary way to explain that program. But the spiral program is like, here's the number one. Here's a shape with one side. A line? I don't know. Here's the number two. Here's the number three. Here's a shape with 3 sides. Here is 3 o'clock. Here are 3 pennies. Lots of different ways to talk about the different math concepts, colors, shapes, numbers, you know, what is more than, what is less than. It felt more comprehensive, and my youngest is really catching on to math right now. So I wanted something that was going to keep his attention, and Horizons has done that. The kindergarten program is equally as exciting, equally as open and go. It makes it so much easier on me to be able to do it, something that's the same for both boys, to have the curriculum for both boys. And then of course, as they go on, if my youngest continues to do well with this program, then I'll just keep the teacher books and then buy the consumable workbooks as we go. Anyway, so that's what's happening in the math world. Very excited about that. English language arts and reading, we're doing all about reading, which I have been so excited about and have loved every minute of it. All of the reviews are like raving. 5 out of 5 stars. Every single time I see somebody talk about it, they're like, this is the best reading program. And I kept getting ads for it. It felt spammy, and so I was hesitant. However, totally worth it. Like every penny, totally worth it. So the way that I've got it set up is also the consumable side of it. I've got them in page protectors so that JD will use it. And then as Logan goes through the program, then I'll have that program for him too. And it's this one right here. Same thing. It's got a teacher guide, it's got a student guide, it's got some reading books that go along with it, and it's a lot of fun. Like, JD really enjoys it. I was a little surprised because I thought my oldest was going to be more like mechanically driven, but he really enjoys facts, like history facts, and you know, English language arts is kind of his jam. Like, he's very much more advanced in English language arts than he is in math, and it came to me as a little bit of a surprise at first, but then the more I thought about it, the more I realized like he really likes more of the emotional aspects of these exciting engineering things rather than the actual like mechanics of it. My youngest is more of a tinkerer. He likes to play with those kinds of things. He wants to know how it's built and how he can build it rather than how is it built and why did we do it that way. So anyway, I say that to say English language arts has been a lot of fun. JD does the first language lessons from the Well-Trained Mind. I had originally gotten that last year, didn't have any problems with it, so I didn't research anything else. Have really enjoyed that one. I think what's interesting about our curriculum and our planning is that at the beginning of this school year in July, I had everything written out, what we were going to do for the week. And what I've realized is that I do better whenever I reverse plan. I have a printed list of all of the different curriculums that my kids have and all of the different lessons in it. And as we go, I just highlight off, all right, we've done lesson 1, we've done lesson 2, we're into lesson 24. I know that we're 31 days into our school year, we're on lesson 31 of math. Great, we're tracking where I want us to be because I like to do math every single day. We're not doing every subject every single day, and that was sort of a hurdle that I had to overcome to be okay with not doing every single thing every single day. If not, we'd be spending 8 hours on school per day, and that is not, that's the opposite of what we were trying to do. So I felt really good about that as well. I am looking forward to, in September, trying a new history program. I really wanted to dig into U.S. history because we have the election coming up, because we have a new president that's going to be in office next year, next January. I really wanted to give my kids the opportunity to dig into specifically U.S. history. So I had been using the free coreknowledge.com materials for the boys, and I still very much like it. But what I wanted to do was get that U.S. history curriculum, get some different things that we can read alongside of it, and then supplement with, this is how we vote, this is why we vote, this is how you choose who you want to vote for, and then them go to the polls with us and have the experience of voting. So I think it's going to be really an exciting time for our history lessons. And then science, I still use core knowledge, which I love. It's so fantastic. September 1st is when we go to Hogwarts. So I think this year I'm going to read Harry Potter to both of them, but mostly to my oldest. And I'm so excited about it. The stipulation for him watching the movies is that we have to read the book first. So we're gonna read the book, we're gonna watch the movie, and then likely we will do one per year because, if you've read the books, you know that it gets pretty mature pretty quickly. So I think that by the time we get to, the fourth book where everything sort of takes a turn, we're gonna be mature enough to be able to handle it and move on. Although, whenever I think back, I will not read the first chapter of the fourth book. I remember reading it. It is imprinted deeply within my soul. That moment, if you've never read it before, then this is obviously irrelevant to you. But for those of you who have, and like the Muggle man going into the house and hearing the Dark Lord speak and all of the different things. I started reading it, I think I had gotten it at a midnight release party, and I started reading it at midnight, and I read the first chapter, and I forced myself to read the second chapter because it looked more lighthearted and I was able to move on. But if I'm listening to it in an audiobook, if I'm reading it like physical, I don't know, it's just, I have PTSD from the first chapter of the fourth book. I'll have to put my big girl panties on and read it whenever the time comes. Or that'll be silent reading. I'll just hand it off and I'll be like, all right, JD, read the first one. Okay, so in September, we're gonna start reading Harry Potter. We are going to try and focus on more outdoor activities. So that girl that I told you about on TikTok that I'm gonna have to link below because I've talked about her way too much, has some fantastic games with dice. And the way that she was talking about teaching kids addition and subtraction was so different from the way that it's even being taught in the book that we're using right now. It's something that's really easy to supplement with doing the fact families instead of doing you start with -0, -1, -2, -3. There's heavy in the skip counting, and then it's heavy in the fact families. 2 + 3 is 5, 3 + 2 is 5, 5 - 3 is 2, 5 - 2 is 3. And whenever he starts realizing that these numbers correlate, there are some in my mind that do, like 5 and 3 is 8 every single time. I don't know, 5 and 3, I always think of 8 in conjunction with that number. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is to get him to see that in his head and then eventually be able to just say it without having to use his hands. Right now we're having to sit on our hands whenever we do our math facts so that we're not doing them on our fingers. But using the dice is really interesting. And I have some big yard dice that I think I want to take outside whenever it's not like blazing heat outside. So we're gonna go outside and we'll play games with that. She had another really fun game where you roll the dice and then you add the numbers up and then you pull out of the ones pile. And then whenever you get to a 10, then you say, all right, I'm gonna regroup these 10 ones into a 10 rod. And it's starting to give you like early concepts of regrouping. My youngest is 5. He loves that game, and now he knows, like, I'm going to exchange 10 ones for 1 10. And I think it's really interesting to watch him kind of catch on to those concepts early on. So we're gonna use some yard dice, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. I also wanna try and come up with some like ways to use soccer and just different outdoor sports in general to kind of get them running, to get them moving, tagging things, running around the yard and finding different whatever so that they're getting both their energy out and they're learning a little bit at the same time. I haven't really done that. We like focus most of our attention at the homeschool table. And what I would like to do is get them out of this room and either into a different room or outside altogether so that we can move our bodies while we are learning. This is the one thing I know that I'm missing, but I knew that I needed to get the idea behind the curriculum and the curriculum underneath my belt before I moved on to making a sport of it. All right, I think that's it. that's all we're going to talk about today. I've been reverse planning. I think I started saying that and then I didn't finish that thought. Instead of planning ahead, I'm planning in arrears. So we sit down. I know that yesterday we did lesson 27 in math, so today we're going to do lesson 28. And then the next day that we do math, we'll be doing lesson 29. So instead of actually like writing out in advance what we're gonna do, it's more like a journal. Like, okay, today we did this. So if anybody ever asks, I know this is where we are. These are the concepts that we're covering. But I don't have to sit down and explicitly plan every minute of every day. I'm looking forward to next month. I can't wait to tell you how it goes. Maybe we'll come up with a couple different fun games I can share with you. And then by that point, I should have a fairly decent review of this Notgrass U.S. history curriculum. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you soon.